Let's go to Nathaniel, Tacoma, Washington. I welcome.
Hi. I was going through the Gospels, and I know that I can't give God any good ideas, but I've noticed that when Jesus was, when he came back from the dead, he showed himself to about, I think it was 500 people, and then he showed himself to the disciples. So my question is, did he ever show himself to the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the people who actually crucified him or doubted him? And if not, why not?
Daryl, your thoughts?
Well, in the resurrection of Christ, we find him going to his disciples. I think the Lord knows the hearts of all people. He knows who's going to come to him and know him and love him and get saved through him. And there's times where they've just fully blasphemed, and their hearts were never going to change. The Lord knows and understands all things. So I don't think we can second guess what the Lord was doing, since he's the Son of God incarnate, and he's infinite and omniscient. So he chose to go to his disciples because they were the ones to carry the message. The others were going to reject the message no matter what. And so he did. And the Bible says in 1 Corinthians that he was seen by over 500 witnesses. Now, there is one particular Pharisee, Nicodemus, who Jesus ministered to in John chapter 3. Nick, you must be born again, right? And then we find Nicodemus bringing the funds and spices and so forth for the burial of Christ. So, and tradition says that Peter may have even baptized Nicodemus after the death and resurrection of Christ and of course, the day of Pentecost. So that's where we see this one. So it's not particularly listed throughout the Scriptures, but we do know that the Lord was seen by his disciples. He in his resurrected state well over 10 times. It's listed throughout the Gospels and by the 500 in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. So it's all in the hands of the Lord and what he wants to do and how he does it, and he knows the hearts of all people. So, Mike, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, and you asked the other question, why didn't he if he didn't? And I believe we find that answer in Luke 16:31. And this is what Jesus said. And he said to him, if they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced, even if someone rises from the dead. Mm-hmm. So I believe that really their lack of faith prevented them from seeing the miracle of Jesus resurrected. And so, again, Luke 16:31, I think, would probably answer the second part of your question. Why didn't he show himself to the Pharisees? Well, they wouldn't believe even if somebody came back from the dead. Nathaniel, I hope that helps.
Oh, absolutely. And also, was Paul a Pharisee? Because I just thought of something while you were talking.
He said he was Pharisee of Pharisees.
Yeah, he said he was, yeah.
Yeah. And you had to be 30 years old to be a Pharisee and married. So
yeah, there's the appearance of Christ to him on the Damascus Road. So he also appeared to Paul on the Damascus Road, which at that time he was called Saul. And he appeared to Stephen when Stephen was martyred. He stood up at the right hand of the Father. The heavens were opened, as well as John the Beloved, the book of Revelation. So very interesting as we see these appearances of Christ in the New Testament.
So in that way, you could probably say that, yes, Jesus did reveal himself to a Pharisee, certainly on that road, on that Damascus road. Hope that helps, Nathaniel.
Absolutely.